Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome you all to a new League of Legends video. So some of my friends started convincing me that LeBlanc is finally back to her prime and is extremely strong. So I had to test this out for myself, and after playing many games of her, I have to say, she is definitely very strong at the moment. She's more or less my go-to champion now in solo queue, and I wanted to make this video to tell you guys about the fact that she's really strong right now and to give you guys some tips on how to play her. So I'll be going over the positives, the negatives, the items, the runes, the masteries, general tips, and my final thoughts. So hopefully in this video you guys learn a thing or two and take this very deadly mid lane assassin APZ mage to the rift. So starting off with the positives of LeBlanc, and oh man are there so many. I'll tell you guys right now, there are definitely more than I'll be mentioning throughout this video. But the ones I do want to talk about are, first of all, the reason she's back to her prime is because her W speed has finally been increased after it was nerfed very heavily. The speed on her W is still not as fast as it used to be, but it is definitely faster than it was a few patches ago. The reason the speed nerf on her W made her so very difficult to play to the point where no one even actually played her was because she had an insane amount of counterplay since she's so slow while she's dashing away with her W. But now that it's finally faster, the counterplay is really not there as much as it used to be, so she's again viable. Other than that, however, LeBlanc is still the same LeBlanc we all loved and hated from patches ago. I've said this many times in many different videos, but I'll say it once again. She has a very strong, overloaded kit. She simply has way too many options with it. I mean, do you want to go for the full damage with the Q ult? Do you want to go for the extra CC on a single target that you're chasing down with your team? Go for the chain and then ult the chain as well. Do you want to have huge mobility to either escape or to get really deep back into the line? Well, use your W and ult. And on top of that, she has a very long time for her to be able to go back to her W, so the juke potential is unreal. But speaking of her W and her having a lot of potential in her kit due to having so many options, if you're running 40% CDR LeBlanc, which you should be because I don't understand why you wouldn't, she will be quite literally dashing around over and over again as if she's in some Dragon Ball Z movie. The mobility is going to be absolutely unreal, the constant damage she'll put out is annoying, and I mean just good luck catching her and stopping her. But with all that being said, she's still a huge lane bully. She's very strong into the mid game and does scale off a little bit late game, but she's easily among the strongest mid laners right now, and I honestly think she's much like an APZ since she can go back to her location with her W, which to me is a personal positive, and if you play a lot of Zed, that could be a positive for you as well. However, the negatives of LeBlanc, and there aren't really that many, is first and foremost, CSing on this champion can be a little difficult if you're not used to it because her auto attack animation isn't the best, and she doesn't have the best wave clear without pretty much using her two main abilities being her W and her ultimate W to wave clear the whole thing, which can definitely leave you vulnerable, and it'll also make you have to wait before you can go in for the harass. And if the enemy team is sieging down one of your towers, I mean, you're not really gonna be able to simply use your W and then your ult W to wave clear because you're putting yourself right in front of everyone else, and you don't want to do that since you'll probably just get caught. She doesn't have any long range poke abilities like maybe a Xerath, a Lux, a Ziggs, so you are kind of forced to pretty much use your W and ult W to get to the backline, put on the QE damage, and then retreat. And the final thing I felt like I needed to mention is teamfighting can be a little difficult with LeBlanc if you're not used to her. It's almost like a double-edged sword. I mean, yeah, it's amazing the fact that she has so many options within her kit, and it's quite honestly overloaded. But the fact that she has that many options can be challenging for people that are not used to LeBlanc to know what they should do and when in a teamfight. So it makes it easy to mess up. But let's talk about the items because this is a very important part. So there's various kind of item builds that you can do, but I'll be giving you guys the one that I almost always do. So you definitely want to start off with the Dorans and the few HP potions, but then you want to rush the Morellonomicon for that 20% CDR. You'll have either 5% CDR or 3.75% from your masteries, and you'll have 15% scaling blue CDRs, which will give you a grand total of 40% or extremely close to it. However, there are other options which all depends on what kind of blue runes do you run. So if you have the CDR per level blue runes, this is the one you want to do. But if your blues are AP per level, then you might want to switch out the Sork boots with Lucidity boots instead to replace the 15% CDR. Personally, I prefer the Sork boots and the CDR blues, but that's just my opinion. Other than that, the items that I recommend should be more or less self-explanatory. Now, I like the Luden's Echo on LeBlanc quite a bit, but some people like to get the Rabadons as the second main item instead. Neither is necessarily wrong, it just really comes down to personal preference. To fill up the 6th item slot that I have not put in the core items, I recommend either the Abyssal Scepter or the Zanya's Hourglass. But let's quickly jump into the runes, and like I said, this is the page that I run. You can see that the blues are 15% CDR, being CDR per level, flat magic pen reds, HP per level yellows, which you can switch out for armor if you're against an AD mid laner, and flat AP quints. Again, if you wish, you can definitely switch out the blues for AP per level instead. Just make sure you get 40% CDR or very close to it. For the masteries, I tend to usually run this page right here, 2109. However, if I'm against someone who's very aggressive in the lane and is an AD assassin, so like maybe Zed, I'll switch out the 9 utility and go into defense instead for the extra HP and damage reduction. So next, let's go over some general tips playing this assassin. First and foremost, you want to max your W first, and then you want to max your Q, and then your E. And a very common harass in the laning phase is to simply throw your Q on the target and then follow it up with a W right after. Or if you're going more all in, like you saw in this example, I first use W, Q ultimate, and then E. Or you can use W, E, and then Q ultimate. However, the biggest thing is to know which ultimate ability you should use. Is it the Q, the W, or the E? This is the hardest part of LeBlanc since again you have so many options and choosing the right one could be the difference between winning a fight and losing it. I also recommend to abuse the double W ports with your W and your ultimate to juke enemies to get in really deep to the backline to harass them with a QE and just do a whole lot of trickery things. Now the final rating I'll be giving to LeBlanc is going to be a whopping 9 out of 10 because I truly do think that this champion is so darn strong, especially in solo queue. She has a very dominant laning phase, it's hard to gank her, it's easy for her to get kills and stick on a target, she has a lot of potential with her kit, being able to juke people around, do a lot of damage, CC a target, and overall a very skilled LeBlanc player is not something you want to mess around with. But that is about it for this video guys. If you did enjoy, please definitely hit that like button, it helps me quite a lot. Share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't, check out my other videos as well, and I really hope to see you for the next one. Peace!